why do you think good doctors often make bad business decisions? Sort of, it's a tough one.
Yeah, and it's not meant in a derogatory way. I think we're all guilty of it. Like, I'm not saying that anybody gets this right 100% of the time, and that's kind of the point, because
Yep.
it's kind of at odds with what we learn clinically. That ultimately, that's what it comes down to, is that as a clinician, I want to do the most safest thing and help my patient. And the risk of what you're doing is reduced by the knowledge that you learn as a clinician. The problem with that mindset in a business kind of way is that you kind of never start it, or you never do it because, well, it just feels hard and risky. So you kind of naturally want to pull back from it and kind of go, oh, I'm not sure I can do that. Or maybe I need to go and get another course or a degree or a piece of paper, or maybe I need to do, I'll wait until, it's after the summer, or, timing's not quite right now. There's always a reason, right? People can find a reason.
Yeah, and I think it's that level of risk it goes, and that's the one thing that you have to put your brain into a different mindset. With a patient, I'll be like, right, I know this is the risk, and this is the risk, and this is the risk, and this is a potential reward in terms of improving your blood pressure, improving your diabetic control. But actually, I'm very clear and very evidence-based in terms of what I'm going to achieve out of this. Whereas actually, when doing business things, you sort of like, you're taking a best guess. And, even like with the 20% course, it's like, I think this will work. It is based on the evidence of actually these videos do well on our YouTube channel. Let's put it in a paywall, put it behind the scenes, give a bit more content just so it adds value. But actually, no one told me to do it that way. Or sort of like no one sort of like said, oh, yep, definitely you must go and do that. Well, I would argue that, Joe Watkins gave me some good advice, but basically said, just shut up and do it. Whereas that's completely at odds to medical day-to-day practice. And sort of like trying to put...
Sometimes you've just got to try things and try things quickly. And often by trying things quickly, you tend to find out what works and what doesn't. It's almost the sort of break it fast kind of idea, which is completely opposite to what we do clinically. I think the only thing I can say from experience is that it works. You find out pretty quickly, and that the real world risk in terms of business type stuff is that worst case scenario, you spend a bit of money on some Google ads that didn't work. Change the Google ad.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or or your product didn't quite sell or hit the mark, or there was something wrong, so we'll change it. The worst case scenario, I think, in terms of what I'm dealing with and what we deal with in terms of business, is very much a different kettle of fish compared to people's lives.
Yes.
Ultimately, a business decision affects the business. Now, you could argue, as the business grows and you employ people, then you do have decisions which affect people's lives, and that is very accurate and very true.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's still an indirect. It's not directly affecting them. So again, it's that mindset shift that I think you have to go through, and it's not impossible. It is totally doable, and we have all the transferable skills as clinicians to be able to do this stuff. And looking at the way the world is going and heading at the moment, anybody who can utilize those transferable skills in other ways as side hustles or whatever it is that you want to do, I fully support that. I think that's a fantastic thing to do.
Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, it's one that, as a GP partner who, I'm still 100% NHS. The majority of my finances come from, my NHS work. But then, just had a referendum on the GP contract that it's not brilliant. And so you sort of, in the back of your mind, thinking, well, what happens if this is no longer viable? And so actually, from a business point of view, or sort of, I've still got families to feed. You get to a point of, do I need to look at something else in terms of bringing finances in? And from that way, what does that look like? Am I foolish not to look at that? And I know a lot of doctors, through whether it's financially it doesn't become viable, or they've burnt out because they've worked too hard in the NHS, and so want something to take back control and take back. And I know certainly you've had quite a few people who chat to you about setting up private practice where it's that same story that goes over. They want to take control back. They want to do something that isn't offered on the NHS, but how do you take a step forward to it? Yeah. So I think one as well is often about the right time and timings. Now. On paper,
yes, always now.
Or, and I think it's sort of like personally that, and I get quite a few people saying, like, "Oh, I want to get onto YouTube, but I've got this and this going on." And it's like, well, yeah, just do it, and that sort of like as a filter that it filters down. Like for me, I've got a young family, I've got 3 children, under 8. It's hard, but it's not impossible. You have to work differently. I think that's the key bit, and you actually have to sort of like realise that I'm going to have to sacrifice sometime somewhere to get this to happen. But actually, I think the stupid thing would be to almost have said like, "Oh, I'll just wait until the youngest is, at school full time." Whereas actually, I would have missed out all this time and all this growth through just having like, well, no, I haven't, I've not been able to do something just because I've said, like, I've put this arbitrary value of like, yes, she starts school full time in September. But what about, I would have wasted a year, if not longer.
Yeah, that compounded growth of effort and time, it really matters. And it feels very slow at the start. And then eventually you get the hockey stick effect and it takes off. So yeah, as soon as you start, the sooner you get to where you're actually looking to go. And the sooner you start, the sooner you realise where you need to change, where your direction is and how to do it. So there are all the things that you have to learn along the way. It's not a linear process. Ultimately, we're not taught all that in medical school. So you have to pay to learn it somehow. You can either pay by time and learned experience, or you can find somebody who can help hold your hand and direct you through it. And, you still pay either way. It just depends on how much you want to pay and how hard you want it to be. That's ultimately what it comes down to.
And I think as well, certainly speaking to GP partners, that actually you are running a business. And I think people forget that, and it's not really pushed forward in medical during GP training. It's sort of like, and I do get it because time's so tight. They're really pushing you through to get through the exams, etc., etc. And the GP training's so short that you always get to the end of like, well, what about partnership? But actually, even doing the doc sport stuff and learning fast about the business side of going, there are so many echoes and so many lessons that pull across into, well, why aren't we doing this? Of like,
and I know you've had that conversation with your partners.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I didn't realise, so for now, like we're just approaching quaff season, and and that is financial income, and it's sort of like, well, actually, so a new bit of software that we're trialing out highlighted 75 patients who have been miscoded or not coded that they've had previous strokes, TIAs, cardiovascular issues in the past, but they're on aspirin and clopidogrel. And it's like, well, hang on a second. And he turned around and said, like, well, look, even if you can, out that number, that could be a couple of grand's worth of people or money that you're missing out, just because you've not done the work. And you're like, well, hang on a second. Yeah, we need to get that done, because actually that money that means can I afford for the cost of living in terms of the, minimum wage sort of popping up from that way. So, yeah. Anyway, okay. So how would you retrain a doctor then? Or, what do you think doctors should do in terms of getting their mind changed? What do you think?
I think it's being curious. I think fundamentally that's what it boils down to. If you're interested enough to kind of realize what's going on and think, how is it that other people are doing something?
Yeah.
Be it as a trainer, be it as a trainee, whatever stage within the NHS ladder or any other business. Being curious matters far more. You'll probably find out that you can learn a heck of a lot more. Just ask some questions. People can ask us questions. They do all the time.
Yeah.
We have discovery calls. People can literally just book a little call and they can talk to us one-on-one. So there are ways to find out some answers and point you in the right direction. And often, if you don't ask, you don't get. So I would say be curious and ask questions. You'll probably find out something you didn't know.
Yeah. And I think, everyone, if you're that way inclined or found this interesting, just try something. Like, I think just taking that step of like, oh, I've got this idea for a book, an ebook or something, just do it. Write the ebook, get it published, get it on, the self-publishing on Amazon, try and promote it. You will learn so much in terms of marketing, what information people want, feedback, research, etc., that it will positively benefit you. And it's a bit different from the day job. And so that in itself is quite interesting, because we're all, generally intelligent people want to learn stuff. Who says it always has to be about medicine? Anyway, that's my little rant. There we go.
Great.
We'll leave all the links below.